All right. I got a sign that says live on YouTube. Any moment now, the window will open up on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and turn the volume off there so we don't get an echo. And I just wanted to reach out to you guys today. It is part of the morning check-in where I check in every day and really just let you guys know what's going on. Newsletter went out today. So if you're not on the newsletter list, if you're not getting the newsletter, simply go to mañananomas.com. Go to mañananomas.com. When you click on the Academy, you'll see that on the very first page of the Academy, we have a, join the community, right? Get the newsletter. And if you fill out that form, it'll add you to the newsletter listing, and you'll see, pardon me, you'll see some of the stuff that I got going on. Lately, the newsletter has been really focused on the Great Cycle Challenge. And people might think that that's a little counterintuitive, right? The newsletter is supposed to be about business. Mañana Nomás is about business. And here I am constantly bringing up, this charity that I'm riding 500 miles for this month. And that's because to me, it is something that resonates very personal. As a childhood cancer survivor myself, riding in this charity to help raise awareness for children's cancer and raise money for children's cancer is a really big thing near and dear to my heart. And bicycling is kind of what keeps me alive. I mean, it sounds like hyperbole, but without bicycling and eating the way that I eat and drinking the way that I drink, I would be a much bigger person and less healthy. And the bicycling helps keep me regulated, keeps things doing what I need to do. So I do a lot of road biking. I throw in some mountain biking here and there. I've got a BMX bike I can play on, and I really just enjoy the time that I have in the saddle. And from a spiritual standpoint, a lot of the time that I spend in the saddle is time to think, to pray, to meditate, to do those types of things. And so, yeah, bicycling is a big thing. So you've seen that a lot in my newsletters. Now, launching yesterday and moving forward for the next 20 days, I'm doing the 22-day, 22 push-up a day challenge to raise awareness for suicide with veterans. And so my sister nominated me for the thing. I did it, I think we did it 2 or 3 years ago, my wife and I. I remember I did it when I was doing the weight loss back in 2017 for sure. And then I think I did it after that as well. But every now and then I like to fire that back up again. And I've got this broken collarbone that I'm dealing with. You can see it. It never, if I move my arm around, you can see it move around a little bit. That's the pointy edge of the bone where it broke. It never connected. So when I do the push-ups, sometimes I feel it, come up. It sometimes feels like it's going to poke through, which I know probably won't happen. That sounds gross. But I was real kind of nervous about doing the push-up challenge. Yesterday was the first day. Today was the second day. And today, I'll be honest with you, I kind of knocked it out of the park. It didn't really bother me as much as it did yesterday. Maybe it's just a mental game, and doing the challenge this time will actually help me overcome this mental thing I have with this broken bone in my shoulder. So that's good news too. From a professional standpoint, I do have some advice I'm going to share with you today. As you know, I left Suzuki in January. It is now, it's going to be October tomorrow, right? And so when you go, wow, what does 9 months of unemployment look like? First off, let me be clear. My level of unemployment is something where I refuse to acknowledge it. So I get up early every day. I hit the want ads. I hit the, Indeed, the LinkedIn jobs. I look at referrals. I meet as many people as I can through LinkedIn. I've grown my network over 3,000 people in the last, since the COVID crisis broke out. And so I'm constantly networking, constantly having meetings. I've been networking with the folks that make software that I use. So I've been working with Chris Badgett and the folks over at Lifter LMS. And I just accepted a contract to help with some election processes and do some training in that regard here in California. And here's my piece of advice. During this job search market, when things are, you're up against the wall and you got to get some revenue coming, you're going to be inclined to want to say yes to a couple of things. And contract might call and you might go, hey, this is great. It's a temporary thing. It's 10 days, it's 12 days, it's 20 days. It's all kinds of things, right? Let me give you one piece of unsolicited warning. Ask them when they make the offer, what other hoops you got to jump through to perform the task. So you might quote the task as a certain fee, or you come to an agreement on an hourly rate, or you come to an agreement on, contract as a job, right? Like I can do that whole job for $10,000. And so you go, okay, so I'm going to do this for the next 2 months and make 10 grand. And you think you've negotiated well. Um, After you say yes to the contract, these folks pull out all kinds of paperwork. Uh, Fill this out, fill that out, get me 6 recommendations, get me, tell me who your employers were for the last 15 years, tell me where you've lived for the last 15 years, background checks, IDs, drug tests. Remember that when you say yes to these companies, a lot of times these companies represent someone else's company. And so, company A goes, great, you're hired. Company B says, hey, that's great, you hired that guy, but we need him to do X, Y, and Z to qualify to come to our location. And then you find out that company B is actually a subsidiary of company C, and company C might require, a separate drug test or a separate lie detector test or a separate clearance, some kind of security clearance to do the job that company A hired you to do. And before you even get to the paying part of the contract, you've got to go through A, B, and C's nonsense. Now, sometimes there's a fee involved, sometimes there isn't. But what's your time worth? In my particular instance, I accepted the contract. I was pretty happy at the wage it was worked out, and I know that there's going to be some opportunity in the future. So I'm really open to working with these folks. But I am really, really surprised at the volume of email, the volume of phone calls, the volume of voicemails, because they call after hours and before hours. They're a national company, so they're all over the place. And then the amount of things you have to do in this post-COVID world. There's no HR departments, the way that there used to be. So now you've got to go to some third party, HR place to validate an I-9. Then you got to go somewhere else to validate your identification for a W-2. And then you've got to go somewhere to get a drug test. Then you've got to go somewhere and it's, wow. Like if I knew I was going to take a tour of my city and spend an extra 10 hours on the computer filling out your forms with duplicative information, I probably would have said, that's great, I'll do the contract, but I'm going to need an extra 10 hours on the front end. Or, hey, what's your onboarding process look like, right? And then how do we factor income or revenue for the onboarding process? And these are questions that I think you need to address before you say yes to the contract. Again, unsolicited advice, things I learned the hard way. I'm in my 50s, folks, and I'm learning something every day. That money is on the table. So before you think, oh, I won't get the contract if I ask that question, they're offering you the contract because you're the person. I know in my particular space, I know I have the qualifications that these people need. I know it. And so when they say, well, this is our budget to do this, okay, well, we can make that work this time. We'll renegotiate next time, provided, I told them flat out, we'll run this like an audition, right? We'll run this like an audition. And when I knock your socks off during this, we know that we can renegotiate fees and things like that for future events. I thought that was a smart way to go. But then all of the other stuff starts coming out. And that's when I probably could have been a little more proactive on asking, hey, what's your onboarding process look like? And how many third parties am I going to have to communicate with in order to do this task for you? And I think that those are reasonable questions in today's market. In this COVID era, more and more people are working remotely and more people are subcontracting, right? And so when you think about the possible combinations of, companies, bosses, supervisors, finance sources and things like that, it gets to be really interwoven, and everybody can find a place at the table, right? People hear me say this all the time. They'll say, oh, everyone's worried about getting my slice of the pie. Don't worry about getting my slice of the pie. I'll make more pie, right? It's just that simple. I'll make more pie. If you're worried about whether while you're arguing if the glass is half full or half empty, I'm just going to go get another glass. It's not a problem, right? So I'm always open to opportunity. I just wanted to kind of give you some insights as to what's happening and actively in business right now with the remote work, with the contract work, and letting you know that there is money. There's money set aside for extra expenditures, right? I'm trying to think of an easy way to say that. If I would have asked ahead of time and said, what's your onboarding process look like? Oh, that sounds like that's going to take about 10 hours. That's going to require another $500 or $600. They would have had that money. They would have had that, right? But I didn't ask, and I'm not the kind of guy that cries the blues afterwards, right? So I'm going to go through the process. I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to store it up here for the next ride, right? Because these things are going to keep spooling up and up and up and up and up. And it's something that we need to be vigilant and keep our eye on, especially as independent contractors and freelancers and entrepreneurs. So beyond that, I should probably let you know, I'm in the dining room today instead of in the garage because it's so stinking hot in there. And with the amount of sunshine coming in through that sliding door behind me, it looks like it's a set. It's not a set. It's not a green screen. That's where I'm really sitting. I should like draw the shades and then you would see. But there's like trees back there, right? I don't know if you can see them. But that's why it looks so weird. I just wanted to get on and talk to you guys. I hope that you're having a great week. It's Wednesday, hump day. It is September 30th. The month is coming to an end. I've got 40 miles to ride on my bicycle today to finish this month's challenge. And it's over 100 degrees outside. So 40 miles. I think I want to wait a little bit, wait until the temperature goes down a little bit. And, I've got plenty to do because I've got paperwork to do for this contract. So have yourselves a great day. Again, I reach out to you as often as I can because I love you guys and I want to be somewhat of an inspiration, piece of information for you. And don't forget, we've got the academy at the Mañana No Mas, right? MañanaNomas.com. We've got a full academy now with 20 courses on personal development, goal setting, goal building, things like that, key performance indicators, how to measure your growth. We've got another learning site at Heidi'sCritterSitter.com. Heidi'sCritterSitter.com. And that's a long URL, but that's the name of a critter sitting company. It's based out of Rover. And in that site, especially with all the new adoptions and stuff like that going on, we thought it would be a good idea to build an online course that talks about pet care and how to take care of your pets. And so we've got that on Heidi'sCritterSitter.com. So we've got that. I was thinking about cloning that course actually and putting it in the Mañana No Mas site just so it's consolidated with the rest of the stuff. And then Power Sport Academy, that's a big one. If you're in the motorcycle industry right now, Power Sport Academy is where you need to be training your service people. You might have heard my rants on social the last couple of days, but I talked a guy into buying a Ducati Super Sport. He called me and said, hey, what Suzuki should I buy? And then I talked to him and I said, doesn't sound like you really want what Suzuki's offering right now. You might be really happy with a Ducati Super Sport. And so months go by and he ends up getting a Ducati Super Sport and they dropped the thing off in his driveway with 3 miles on it, indicating that there was no test drive. Touch-free delivery, right? So, here's your bike. Good luck. Have a nice day. And they never test drove it. They never quality assured it. They never did anything to it. And he rode it. And sure enough, check engine light, overheating warnings, all kinds of issues for him. And it turned out to be the silliest thing. Somehow at the factory or during shipping, at the factory, they didn't connect the coolant temperature sensor connector tight enough, didn't snap in, right? Because like when you put a connector on like a car, like when you're connecting any kind of component in your car electrically, you hear like you slide the connector on it and when it gets close, it goes, right? Well, it wasn't snapped in and it had come loose. So here he is, he had put, 17 miles on the motorcycle, right? So 14 from him. So he put 17 miles on the motorcycle. In his mind, it had overheated. It had possibly done engine damage. He went to check the oil. He checked the oil incorrectly, thought it was low on oil when it wasn't. So another panic moment, right? Because he didn't have an orientation on the machine. You spend $15, $20, $25, $30,000 on a motorcycle. When they drop it off, they better darn well tell you, this is how you check the oil. This is where the battery is. This is where, right? If you bought a car, that's what you would expect when you got your car, right? But this COVID thing is causing people to change process and procedure in a way that's not advantageous for building relationships with customers. And so the Power Sport Academy is there to help people refocus on building relationships with customers, doing what's right, treating people properly, increasing customer satisfaction, through that, increasing efficiency and productivity within the shop. And then that increases profit, and the more that these dealers can be financially sustainable, the more they can edify the brands that they represent and grow their business and help even more people. So with the COVID crisis adding more and more demand on the motorcycle community, as far as inventory goes, I think it's really, really important that dealers train their service people to continue the relationship that sales struggles to make, right? You put all that work into starting that relationship, and then if parts and service drops the ball, what was the sense in all the hard work anyway? So, guys, you have yourself a great day. Happy hump day. I think I'm out for today. I think I'm going to have a Bass Ale and fill out some paperwork. Bye-bye.